Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with a view from Tracy's Point, and I just wanted to let you guys know what's been going on in my life and why you haven't been getting any recaps from me in the past 3 weeks. Well, over the summer, my oldest daughter Morgan got engaged, and first she said she was going to elope. Then she turned around and said, "No, I want to have a wedding. I want to come home," because she lives out in California. I think I mentioned that before. So she wanted to come home and she wanted to have a beach wedding. And so we only had a couple of months to put this whole thing together. And the Friday after Thanksgiving, she did tie the knot. So I was so excited about that. So that is where I have been for the past few weeks, just leading up to that, trying to get everything in order. And then following the wedding, I'm in a master's program at the University of South Florida, and so had to get a term paper together that I have been procrastinating. And like I told my professor that I was a little more excited about going through Pinterest, trying to come up with ideas for this wedding than I was about actually writing this paper. So I did eventually get the paper done, and it took place in the span of a week. It was like a paper that I should have been working on for the past 16 weeks, but I did finally get it together, and the paper was called, I can't remember the title, but it was something like The Black Church. And can the Black Church bring about effective change within the communities that they serve? And just basically touching on, the topic of what does the church mean? Is the church just a social gathering place on Sunday mornings where people go to be entertained? Or should the church actually be doing more within the community? And it's so ironic that on this day, I think last year, somebody commented on a post that I wrote a year ago, and basically on that post it was actually dealing with the Black church and just how in the middle of the service the pastor called, he had some tickets for a play that he wanted to give away, and so this guy came up and got the tickets, and then the pastor felt something internally, and he was like, "Wait a minute, I'm feeling something." So he started calling up, trying to figure out what the issue was. So he was saying that he felt it had something to do with a college student. And so he said, if you're in college and you need money, like to buy books or something like that, come up. You're having trouble getting back, going back to school, I think it was in the spring semester. And so I think 4 people came up, and he ended up giving each one of them $100. And then he said, "Well, I'm still not feeling something." And then he said, "If you're a college student and you're homeless, come up." And so the boy that he had just given the free play tickets to came up, and he shared that he was a college student. He had run out of money, like he could pay for his classes, but he didn't have anywhere to stay, and he didn't want to drop out, so he was sleeping in his car. And then the 4 students who he had just gave the $100 to gave this boy their $100. Then a lady came up and said that she had a place that she had a house, or I think it was like a rental property that she had, and she was more than welcome. He could have it until he graduated from college. And then somebody came up and offered him a job, and it was just a wonderful feeling. And I just kept thinking, this is what church should be about. It should be about helping people and not just getting up there. And like part of the research that I did, it talked about how the Black church in America collects more money than the NBA and the Major League Baseball combined. So it was saying like the church makes $17 billion a year. Like all the Black churches in the United States make $17 billion a year. But where's that money going? Like when you look around your communities, and this is not to say all Black churches, because we know like the T.D. Jakes, Potter's House, and churches like that, they are doing things in the community. They are helping people. They're creating employment opportunities. But I'm talking about your church, the church that you might be going to on Sunday morning. How are they impacting the communities? So I got my little paper done, which is what I really wanted to say. And I ended up getting a B in the class. And it was so funny because when the teacher was putting in the grades, and I would get a notification like each, so it was broken into 4 parts, and each part was worth 25 points for the whole, the course itself. And so as I was as she was grading each part, like participation, my portfolio, it would send me notifications. So I would go into the, it's called Canvas. And so I would go into that point to see what she said and what grade I got. So when it was all said and done, it said I had a 65% for the class. And I was sitting there saying, now, damn, I know I waited to the last minute. I know I procrastinated. But even on my worst day, I can write a pretty good paper. I cannot believe that this lady just gave me a 65%, which is like a D. I'm thinking, like, what the hell? So I just said, you know what? I ain't even gonna worry about it because I was in the wrong. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So then that was like on Monday of last week. And then Wednesday, she sent an email and she said, so I don't know if she sent everybody the email and we were all blind copied or if she just sent the email to me, but basically the email said that when she entered the grades, it doesn't calculate it the way it's supposed to be calculated. So the percentage that we were seeing at the bottom of our of the grade screen was not our final grade. And so she told us how to calculate it. Basically, you could receive 1 to 5 points on each category, and then you take whatever she gave you. So like if it was, if you got a 4 out of 5, that was worth 100 points. And so you take your 4 scores, add them together, and then multiply them by 0.20. It was something like that. Anyway, at the end of the day, y'all, when it was all said and done, my final grade in that class was a B, and I was quite happy with that because when we did our self-evaluation, where you had to say what you thought you deserved, I was honest and said I deserved a C because I really didn't apply myself. So I was happy with my B, y'all, and I hope y'all happy for me too. But getting back to my daughter's wedding. Let me tell y'all, it has been like in the 80s, damn near the 90s here in St. Petersburg, leading up to this wedding. So we're like, oh, the weather's going to be beautiful because she's getting married outside at the beach. So why, Lord, why? Did that Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving, did a cold front come through. So it was like, it wasn't cold, but it was just really dreary and misty. Like it wasn't downpours. It was like a misty rain would come through. The wind was blowing and everything. So then the weather would pass and then it would clear up. And then by Tuesday night, they were saying that on Thanksgiving and on the Friday after Thanksgiving, it was going to be like a 100% chance of rain. It was going to be cloudy all day. It was just going to be an ugly day. And so, you know, being the mother, I got to keep my child uplifted and like, oh, Morgan, don't worry about it. Everything's going to work out. You know, God's going to bless you with a beautiful day. And inside, I'm like, Lord, I ain't never lied to my child before. So please, we need you to show up and show out for this wedding. So his family, it was a small wedding. And basically it was, they each invited all of their siblings and then they invited their parents and then their parents' siblings, and then I don't remember if his grandparents were there or not, but I know my mom would be my daughter's grandparent, so she was there. So it turned out that our part of the family was a little smaller than his part of the family. So everybody was asking me, well, why did he have more people there than her? But it was basically how they set up that they were going to do this invitation thing because they didn't want a really big wedding. And so it started out that they were going to have 48 people at this wedding, and it turned out to be 90 people. But it was really nice. And so I think Thanksgiving Day, so they rented out this beach house. And the wedding was actually at the beach house. So Thursday night, we did Thanksgiving, which was been the rehearsal dinner. So it was Thanksgiving dinner with all of the family, you know, coming together. So that was really nice. And then my middle daughter, Jasmine, the one that has autism, Thanksgiving Day was actually her birthday, you know, so we had a birthday cake for her. And one thing I really loved about her now husband's family is that they were so welcoming and receiving of my daughter Jasmine. Like they just, you know, it wasn't, you know, Jasmine acted out. Nobody was looking like, you know, she was embarrassing them or anything. You know, everybody was helping out. You know, they were like, if they saw her get up and walk off, you know, they go, oh, Jasmine, come on back, and bring her back and sit down. And So they really embraced Jasmine and made Jasmine feel welcome. And if you are the parent of a child with a disability, you know what that feels like. So nothing else needs to be said about that. That is just like a wonderful feeling. And so we had Thanksgiving dinner, and it was cold that night, but it wasn't raining. I think it had rained earlier in the day, but the rain had passed. So then when I got up Friday morning, which was the day of the wedding, it was real dreary outside, and then it started to rain, and we still had stuff that we needed to do. I had to go pick up the flowers from the, we ordered the flowers from the local Publix grocery store. And so, you know, to do the centerpieces and everything. So we had to put all that together. So then it started raining, and it was just like, okay, it wasn't really that bad, but it wasn't really that great either. And so the wedding was at 3:30. And so I think it was probably about 2 o'clock. I was out there. I had been fighting with this gazebo. So I had wanted to, we were going to do the gazebo where we're going to rent, you know, like the little arch thing, but it was like $100 and some. So I told my daughter, I said, well, you know what? I need to buy a new tent for when I go out and sell my books. So why don't we take the frame of the tent and create this gazebo? So for 3 months, I'm out just buying fabric, trying to figure out how to wrap this gazebo. So then I finally think I figured it out. I finally get enough matching material, because every time I would go to Joann's, like they would have 4 yards, but I needed like 15 yards. And so piecing this thing together. So of course the day of the wedding, like I said, it had been raining earlier. Now it was cloudy, and then the wind started picking up. So we're out there on the beach trying to put this fabric over this gazebo. And I'm like, oh my God. And now the wind is just picking up. And we're trying to hold the tent down. We're trying to get the fabric. My best friend Tamala came. She was trying to help me out. So we finally get this fabric on this gazebo. But at this point, we're just tired. We don't care. Let's go and get this wedding over with. So then I checked my watch, and I had needed to go back home to get dressed, but it was like absolutely no more time. So my youngest daughter was at home. So I called her. I was like, Shantae, get my dress, get my shoes. There's some flowers in the closet. There's like, get this, get that, get this, get that. This girl shows up with my dress and my shoes. No undergarments, no makeup, no anything. So I'm like, oh my God. And so while we were out there trying to get this gazebo going, I had some jeans on. But you ever like your underwear that lost its like elasticity? So you like constantly like you're squatting down, everything dropping, so you got to be pulling everything back up. And so my underwear, I was like, when I take these panties off, I'm throwing them in the trash because they are no more good. So here it is. My daughter didn't bring my undergarments or anything. So now I got to wear these damn stretched out underwear underneath my dress. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. So anyway, by the time we walked out there on that beach for the wedding, the clouds had totally moved on. It was so beautiful. It was so sunny. The sky was like the perfect color blue for this wedding. And it went with the blue that was in the fabric of the gazebo. But when I tell y'all that wind was about 30 miles per hour. So we did all this work on this gazebo. And the wind was like blowing the pieces of fabric into the wind. We had a cross that my friend Kathy had loaned us for the wedding. And so we had draped the cross with a piece of cloth. And that was about to fly off down the road. And then behind the seating, we had, you know, when you go to like an event and they have like the panels of fabric to block the wall or, you know, section things off. So we had that to like separate the beach from the beach house. So the wind had them blew the fabric all the way down. So we had these bars out there, and then we finally had to like wrap the fabric around the poles to keep it from flapping and hitting the people in the back. But at the end of the day, it was a beautiful wedding. And if you guys are looking at some of the pictures that I'm intermingling in the post, there was a table under the gazebo, and on the table, my daughter had wanted to do communion. And then they were going to do this anchor ceremony with this tying some rope or something. So I told her, I said, now Morgan, If y'all haven't practiced this tying this rope thing, let's not do that, because I've been looking at videos on YouTube and it's a hot mess. So make sure you know what you're doing. So when I went in to tell, I said, okay, so the gazebo's all set, and where's the stuff for the communion? So she goes, oh, Reverend Thompson's bringing the communion stuff. I said, okay, so basically we ain't having communion because the man that told you he don't want to do communion at the wedding. So why would you trust him to bring the communion supplies when he told you he doesn't want to do it? And guys, that's something very important to think about when you're planning your wedding. If you have an idea about your wedding and things that you want to do for your wedding, and the person you want to perform the wedding is not in agreement with what you want to do, then you got to think really hard. What's more important, having, the pastor that you grew up, that you've known all your life, be the one that performed the ceremony, or do you need somebody who's going to go along with what you want to do for the ceremony? Because sure enough, when he showed up, he had no communion supplies. So now we got this table out there that have no communion supplies, and then they decided not to do the rope ceremony. So that was looking a little odd. Then we're going, this was funny. So we're going through the ceremony, and there was this little girl, little Indian, somebody said she was Hispanic, but I said, no, I think she got some Indian in her, it's like Middle Eastern in her. And I think we did find out that it was Middle Eastern. Her dad, I think, is from Iran. But anyway, so the little girl's there, and she got her little frozen nightgown. So she all under the gazebo, she all leaning on the table and everything. And I'm like, who little girl is this? And so me and my youngest daughter get to talking. So I look over and I said, okay, forget about the little girl, running around behind the pastor. There was another little girl that dug a hole in the beach. And the hole was so deep that all we could see was the part in the middle of her head. I was like, well, little girl is that over there that dug her grave? And so we just sitting there like, oh my God, what in the world is going on? So it turned out that the two little girls were my son-in-law Dan's, I think they're his cousin's kids. It was two sisters, and each one of them had a daughter, but they were the most adorable little girls. But I was just like, this wedding is so reflective of my daughter, because my daughter is very artsy, very creative, very free-flowing, and like the wedding, it was beautiful, and it just turned out representing everything that she is. And I just never seen her so happy before. And I think any mother, just to see that joy on your child's face, like she's had many accomplishments in her life, but I would have to say that in her 33 years, she turned 33 Friday, that November 24th, 2017 was the happiest day I had ever seen her in all of her 33 years. So we get through the wedding and we get back up, in the back of the and you'll see it in the pictures, but so we get ready to start the reception. So it was supposed to be like the wedding ceremony and our cocktail, for cocktails while we went and took pictures, and then we were going to have dinner served. So, it was just so much going on, and when you get caught up in the moment, you don't really, realize what's taking place. So then finally I said, well, where is the caterer? Like, shouldn't he be here by now? Because the bartender is serving up these drinks, but we ain't got nothing on the little cocktail tables like for the snacks. And what we had ordered was some brie. I guess it's like cheese blocks. And when we had it was supposed to be the brie, and then it was supposed to be lobster dip and flatbread. So we did the tasting for the food. The guy didn't understand what she wanted, and so he made this dip, and dip was pretty good. But it was the brie cheese mixed with the lobster dip, and then he had like some blueberry to kind of give it a little sweet flavor, and the flatbread was amazing that he had made. And so I'm looking like, well, where is all of that at? So, not to go through the whole reception thing, but just to tell y'all, we hired this, it's a black restaurant here in St. Petersburg called Rush Hour Chicken and Waffles, and they make really good soul food. I've been to events that he's catered. I've been to, eating at his restaurant before, and the food is always on point. I have to give the brother that. But his demeanor, he got shot about 10 years ago, and he's in a wheelchair. He's paralyzed from the waist down. And so whenever he's kind of like in his little mood, I just take it as, you know, it's got to be hard. One, you're a young black man. You have gone from, you know, having a full life where you have use of your limbs and everything to now you had this unfortunate thing happen to you. And so I kind of feel like at times he tries to overcompensate, you know, for the fact that he's in the wheelchair, and then that kind of comes off a little, you know, not so nice at times. And so I always tell people, you know, when I recommend this restaurant, like, he's a really nice guy, you know, but he seems to have trouble keeping good staff, you know, which is any food business, I would assume. I say, but just give him a chance because the food is good and everything. So back to the day of the wedding, this is what happened, y'all. So he was like an hour and a half late getting there because he had to rent a U-Haul to bring all his stuff to the venue. And the truck broke down, so then they had to wait for a replacement truck to come. So the replacement truck comes and they don't get everything off of the first truck, but then they get there, they get unloaded, they bring everything, you know, back to where the party is. Now remember, the party is at a beach house. It's not at a venue, you know, like a big room with a commercial kitchen or anything. And we explained that to him when we did the tasting. But anyway, he shows up, he gets the stuff off and everything. And so now we're like really delayed because some of the stuff that we had to be cooked on site. Like we had fried green tomatoes, we had shrimp and grits, and all this stuff was stuff that had to be cooked. And then we had corn chowder, I think it was corn chowder and cornbread, spare rib medallions, this coleslaw, Asian coleslaw that was off the chain. And like I said, we were supposed to have the brie, we were supposed to have the lobster dip. It seemed like it was smothered chicken and rice. So it was a lot of stuff. Some he brought already prepared, some he had to cook while he was there. So we finally, it's probably like 6 o'clock because I think it was dark outside by the time everything got ready to go and the food, you know, was being served. So, you know, like I said, everything's going on. You're not really paying attention because you're caught up in the moment. But then I learned afterwards that his truck ended up getting towed because rather than ask us where he should park the truck or say he needs somewhere to park or whatever, and so we could move some of the cars, they take the truck to the 7-Eleven up the street and park the truck at the 7-Eleven. So, of course, the people at the 7-Eleven like, who damn U-Haul is that? So they told the U-Haul. It's like 1:30 in the morning before, you know, they're finally able to get all their stuff out of there and get gone. So then we realized he never served the lobster dip. And then when my daughter had asked about the brie, he went and cooked the brie. So it was 3 loaves of brie, which is like a cheese. He cooks all 3 of it, but by now there's nobody to eat the brie, so that was a total waste. He was frying the fried green tomatoes, but he was frying them at a pace that if you were standing in line to get your food, then you saw the fried green tomatoes come out. So, of course, 2 or 3 people take all the fried green tomatoes, so then we got to wait for more fried green tomatoes. So that was kind of like a disaster. Then with the shrimp and grits, like the lady would only give us 2 pieces of shrimp with the shrimp and grits. And I mean, like if she dipped them 2 pieces of shrimp up and it was 3 on the spoon, she dropped them back down and she picked up 2 more pieces of shrimp. And we was just like, okay, this is just too much. But you know me, I'm the forgiving person. I'm like, okay, he's just stressed out. He had a bad day. Let's just leave him alone, right? So I had even asked him, you know, are you okay? Everything? You need anything? He was like, I'm fine, I'm fine. But you can look at his face and tell that he was kind of just flustered and upset. And I believe that if something happens to you, you got to shake that thing off and let it go. Because if you hold on to it, it's going to fester and fester and fester and just kind of like ruin the rest of your day. And I think that's what pretty much happened. So when my daughter goes to pay him, then we had a whole ordeal with her paying him and him not having a register. The register was broke, then the register came. And so it was just like a really hassle, very disappointing experience as far as the customer service was concerned. But my daughter felt that she was owed a discount for the fact that he was an hour and a half late. She didn't think she should have to pay for the lobster dip that was never served. And she thought she needed a discount on the brie because basically they ended up throwing the brie away. And she was like, you know, if you hadn't cooked it, I could have took the brie, cut it up and gave it away to people, but you cooked it, so now it's no good. And you know, it's once you cook it, you have to eat it right then. You can't eat it days later. But he basically told my daughter that he expected full payment and that he thought that she should pay for his towing bill because there was nowhere for him to park. And so my daughter was, and I was feeling the same way. Like, first of all the other vendors that was there came out, viewed the facility, you know, made sure that they had what they needed. You know, they had the right electricity, the right lighting, everything. You showed up, you didn't come out and view the facility. You showed up an hour and a half late. You had no lights. You, then he got into it with the DJ's wife about, she told me she would turn the oven on in one of the units in the house. And so he could cook the brie, and then he was arguing with her for not cooking the brie for him. And she was like, I told you I would turn the oven on. I didn't tell you I was cooking the brie for you. So, I mean, it was just a really bad experience. And I talked to other people who I know have used him as a caterer before, and they were all shocked. Like, I cannot believe he acted like that. And I said, well, he did. And I have no reason to lie. And I was so mad because before I knew all of this stuff had happened behind the scenes, I had actually written him a good review and give him a shout out on Facebook. And then I found out all this stuff happened, and I had to go back and delete stuff and be like, hold up. So I went up there to talk to him one day, but the business wasn't open yet. Then I went back one day last week, and they said that he wasn't there. And so I was just like, child, let me get on over this experience and move on. So, but like I said, the food was really good, but it was a poor customer service experience. But at least the people, the guests there just felt that he was late. They weren't dissatisfied with the food. And my daughter's married now. She's happy, and we survived, guys. So now I am trying to it's just a part of me that instead of just picking up on the shows that I recap and moving forward, I am going to go back and recap from the beginning of the season. So you'll be getting a bunch of videos for Real Housewives of Atlanta, Married to Medicine, This Is Us. And I only can do this because a couple of these shows are on hiatus, and Y'all Fix My Life was so doggone good that I had to binge watch all those shows one Saturday. Like, that whole half season was amazing. So I am going to do some recaps on those shows, and I think that's it. So maybe by the new year I'll be all caught up on all these shows. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to let you all know what was going on in my life, and I getting ready to get caught up on these videos. I've already done Queen Sugar, the second to the last show, and the season finale. So those are up. Go check those out. And be on the lookout over the next couple of days for all these other shows that I need to do. Real Housewives of Atlanta, Married to Medicine, all of that good stuff. Anyway, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. You're looking forward to Christmas and have made your New Year's resolutions. And I should talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.